Hey guys, it's a Valentine's Day news dump, the most sensual and erotic of dumps all year long.
Yeah, and the big movie release today that was very intentionally scheduled to fall on Valentine's Day is, of course, 50 Shades of Grey. The film based on that book that your mom keeps hidden away in the drawer next to her bed.
Don't look in the drawer.
Mom, why is your drawer vibrating?
But it looks like your mom might not be keeping the Blu-ray of this movie in that drawer next to her bed because the reviews are in. And they're pretty damn terrible.
Yeah, over on Rotten Tomatoes, it's got a 27% rating from critics who had the privilege of seeing it early. I was one of them, although I'm not on Rotten Tomatoes. I did see it. But there's only one review that you need.
Yeah, that review comes from Down Under. It's Lisa Wilkinson of Australia's Today Show, whose verbal takedown of this movie is more brutal than any of the kinky BDSM in the actual film.
Which there isn't much of.
Yeah.
Despite how scathing her review is, it kind of made me find her really attractive. So maybe I actually am into this BDSM stuff.
We had yell at me and
we had the whips and stuff like that on our previous episode. You know, maybe it's something
I want
we're
Lisa
into
Wilkinson to tell me everything that I'm doing wrong with my life, and just Anyway, Lisa Wilkinson says, "Sure, I was the only woman I know who hadn't read the books, but hey, 100 million copies sold must make a good movie, right?" Wrong. 50 Shades of Grey is quite simply the worst movie I've ever seen. Boom!
She describes Christian Grey as an emotionally crippled narcissist no one could love, and describes Anastasia Steele as one-dimensional, lip-biting, pathetic, and single-handedly selling all women short.
Damn. She gives it 1 star out of 5, with that 1 star being less about the movie and more about the chalk top that she consoled herself with after watching. I had to look this up. Chalk top is apparently an Australian ice cream cone thing.
I bet it's delicious.
I'm sure it is.
By the way, she also says that her husband was excited to hear that she was seeing the movie, but that he didn't get lucky later that night because, quote, "After 2 hours of complete drivel, I need more than a chalk top to pop my corn."
Is that like pop my corn is like...
I don't get it.
It sounds nasty.
Yeah.
Girl, I'm gonna make you pop that corn.
No.
Anyway, Ricky had a slightly different opinion about the movie.
It wasn't as terrible as I thought it was going to be. It actually seemed pretty self-aware in like the first half of the movie because it kind of makes fun of itself, and I thought that was good. The theater was full and everyone was laughing at it. So on that end, it was okay. But about halfway through, it turns like ultra serious and just gets ultra repetitive, and the sex isn't really that entertaining or hot. And there's not much kinky stuff. So I was just confused by it. Like, the movie's way too long. It's stupid as fuck. And I just don't understand, like, listen, it's a fucking movie. I was slightly entertained by the beginning of it, but it lost me really fast along the way. I would sum it up as saying, you're gonna see this movie and go, wow, being rich and white must be the best thing in the world. Because this guy gets away with everything. He's like, do you want to go for a ride in my gliding plane, or maybe take my helicopter back to your house? Maybe we'll take the Lamborghini. And by the way, I'm gonna beat the shit out of you while I'm fucking you, and there is no consequence at all. So if you're into that, go see the movie.
I am.
Well, you're gonna see it then.
Well, anyway, let's spend the rest of this Valentine's Day dump talking about things that we actually like. Starting with Netflix.
Yeah, so House of Cards Season 3 is scheduled to premiere in about 2 weeks on February 27th, but it looks like someone over at Netflix HQ got a little antsy and accidentally made the whole season live for viewing last Wednesday.
Yeah, Netflix is saying it was a bug in their scheduling system, but for a full 20 minutes, anyone who wanted a sneak peek at all the evil shit that Frank Underwood is up to this year got to do just that.
Yeah.
And apparently could continue doing so as long as they didn't refresh the page.
Well, that's good, yeah. The official House of Cards Twitter soon addressed the situation in typical Frank Underwood fashion, saying, "This is Washington. There's always a leak. All 13 episodes will launch on February 27th. It was almost like kind of like a cunning marketing ploy at that point, because it really brought it into like the attention of the country. So there you go.
This is Washington.
Yeah.
There's always a leak.
All right,
So they also retweeted a screenshot that someone took of an episode's endless loading screen once the problem was fixed. Oh. You gotta ask, in the age of constant leaks that we're living in today, did Netflix do this on purpose?
I don't know. It definitely got the internet talking, like we said, and leaks are probably the best free publicity around these days, so maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't even remember that House of Cards was coming back, and it was all over the news this week.
But moving on to something else we love, The Daily Show, whose host Jon Stewart announced he'd be leaving the show later this year after hosting since way back in '99.
Yeah, in that time he basically took a little comedy news show on a little cable network and turned it into some of the best comedic journalism of all time, and also like the most beloved late night show on American TV.
And just regular journalism. He did an incredible job. The show has also basically been the flagship program of Comedy Central alongside South Park for a very long time, so it's no surprise that his announcement would affect the market value of Comedy Central's parent company, Viacom. And goddamn if it didn't do that, because
yeah, so pretty much as soon as that news hit the streets, Viacom stock dropped nearly 1.5% on the NASDAQ charts, an amount that's equal to $350 million.
Goddamn. Although since it has basically bounced back, it's just cool to see that while us Daily Show fans stress out about how anyone could replace Jon Stewart, Viacom's investors are doing basically the exact same thing with their money.
Yeah. And so far, plenty of websites and news outlets have thrown in their suggestions for who could or should replace Jon Stewart, but nobody really sticks out as having that special blend of humor and intelligence that Jon Stewart has.
Yeah, we can't really think of too much, but even before any of this was announced, the makers of Hot Tub Time Machine 2 decided that in their version of the future, Daily Show correspondent Jessica Williams would be hosting the show 10 years from now.
Yeah, so this clip is pretty funny. Uprock's got its hands on it, and apparently in this future, self-driving cars get in fights with each other, and Neil Patrick Harris is president of the United States. So that's cool.
But hey, if we had to pick any existing correspondent on The Daily Show to pick up the torch after Stewart leaves, Jessica Williams would probably be our pick. I mean, she's great, but seriously, who the hell knows at this point?
So the casting hunt for Jon Stewart's replacement is going to be the biggest casting hunt of the year.
Crazy.
It's not going to be Spider-Man. It's not going to be any of these superheroes.
It's all who's taking over the Daily Show.
Who's taking over
Who
the Daily
can we
Show?
trust? Since I did 50 Shades of Grey review, I also saw Hot Tub Time Machine at a screening, and it was fantastic. It was really, really, really funny, and it's like a very accurate, I would think, portrayal of the future, because they're only going 10 years in advance, and they actually make the joke in the movie that's like, this doesn't look like the future, and they're like, well, it's 10 years, not much is gonna change. But there is a lot of cool stuff in it, and I thought it was really, really funny. So when it does come out next week, go see that, because it's actually a good comedy that's coming out on a mainstream level. So.
And speaking of that movie, tomorrow, we talked to Craig Robinson.
Oh yeah, tomorrow, the podcast.
But we're not done yet. Let's close out this love dump with some videos that we love. Starting with this video from Pixomondo, the VFX company behind the dragons in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, every year there's always some great behind the scenes clips from this show, showing all the crazy amounts of visual effects that go into creating the show's fantasy world. But this one's all about those dragons.
Yeah, it'll really make you appreciate the work that goes into making probably the best CGI creatures on television. These dragons look so convincing, and it's because the artists behind them have their entire skeletal and muscular systems totally mapped out to make sure that they look and move as realistically as possible.
Yeah. It also makes you appreciate Emilia Clarke, if you didn't know already, because when she's doing those scenes where she's basically mothering these dragons that she sees as her children, she's reacting to either a green pillow or nothing at all.
Yeah, she's like very emotional in these scenes. There's nothing there.
It's called acting.
But that's unfortunately the only context that we can mention Emilia Clarke and nothing at all in the same sentence ever since her character stopped being naked all the time.
A real shame. But finally, here's a great video from The Verge, who hung out with Deadmau5 and Marcus Brownlee at Deadmau5's mansion in Canada, and they flew a bunch of drones around his massive estate.
Deadmau5 is apparently a huge drone hobbyist, so they all play around with drones for most of the video. But the real highlight happens when Deadmau5 decides to demonstrate what he does when he sees unauthorized drones on his property. He pulls out his air rifle and he shoots them down.
Yeah. It's also kind of funny seeing a soft-spoken guy like MKBHD talk about the future of drones with a loudmouth like Deadmau5.
Yeah,
I love Deadmau5, but
Deadmau's is great, but like he's very
vocal.
He says whatever the hell is on his mind.
Yeah,
Marcus
exactly.
Brownlee's just like, yeah, well, I think I think the government's gonna have to like come up with some regulations, and Deadmau's gonna be like, people are gonna do what they want to do. I'm Deadmau5.
Yeah. That's a great reenactment of how it went down.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, we have some great content coming up. Tomorrow we have our interview with Craig Robinson from Hot Tub Time Machine 2, and that'll be up video-wise tomorrow morning on
It's already
Sunday.
out there on SoundCloud.
But it's on SoundCloud, iTunes, Pocket Cast, Stitcher, whatever podcast thing you use. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast there, because that way we get you guys the audio version first, and it works out really well. And then Monday we have our social media fails of the month for February, and they're great.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Put him in a coffin.
Put them in a coffin. All right, we'll see you guys next time. Have a good weekend. Have a good President's Day if you're in America. Have a great Valentine's Day across the world.
Treat yourself.
Yeah, we mentioned it on the Daily on Friday, but don't take your girlfriend to see 50 Shades of Grey. It's not a good date movie. If you're single, go alone and you know,
Go take her to
hang out
see
afterwards.
like Kingsman.
Yeah, we heard that's good. Go see that. All right, we'll see you guys.
Bye.